Today's First Alert afternoon weather update is brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.
Happy Monday. Welcome in. First Alert meteorologist Diane Phillips joining you today. Hopefully you were able to make it through our wintry weekend. We had the cold air to start the weekend, and then we had some snow to finish it up. So winter weather is still what we're going to be talking about here today at the First Alert desk. We are going to be talking about some snow chances coming in for tonight, how we still have that cold air sticking around. So it almost kind of seems status quo. The forecast, a lot of it seems like it's on rinse and yet repeat, but we are going to also be talking about the forecast quieting down going into the upcoming weekend, and that's really good news considering that Zender Snowfest in Frankenmuth is going to be kicking off this weekend. I'm actually going to start there right now because we do have our camera set up, so you have a couple of crews that are already out there starting to cut away at some of those snow blocks. So a lot of the activity doesn't actually even kick off until Wednesday, but I bet there's some of those artists that have some big plans for those blocks. So I'm pretty sure that they're getting an early jump on there, at least making sure that the conditions are what they're hoping to be to get that carving going. So we're going to have a lot of coverage between our normal newscast, but also you can catch one of our live shows is going to be Focus on 5. That's going to be later this week, so make sure you tune into that. So there's a lot of excitement. Of course, we're going to be covering Snowfest, and I'm happy to see that the forecast is going to support the weather for that event this week. When we look at our temperatures to come, though it's not a warm-up, I think a lot of us are okay that temperatures aren't necessarily rebounding. We're still easily below average. Our highs are going to be into the low to mid-teens, so this is going to allow for those sculptors to have great carving weather. We don't have to worry about even the ice carvings to start to melt. So whether it's snow or ice, it looks like we're going to have a pretty good setup this weekend. Sure, you're going to have your coats, your snow pants, your boots on when you go, but it's still going to be a great time, and thankfully it should be really nice for us to take in those creations. So pretty excited to get down to Frankenmuth here later this week. But again, make sure you are bundled up because even though our air temperatures are kind of hanging out into the teens, we are going to be finding that wind chills are still going to be a concern for us. Even here this afternoon, our wind chills are currently sitting kind of right around zero. Some of us are on the positive side, some of us are on the negative side. So we are going to continue to just kind of be stuck into this cold air here for a while. It does feel like it's about -7 right now in Houghton Lake, -4 in Clare, just down the road in Mount Pleasant. We have a wind chill of 3. Same for Brown Airport in Saginaw, but yet at MBS Airport is reporting -1. And that's what we're finding for Harbor Beach, Port Sanilac, and even into Standish. So a lot of these temperatures are going to continue to just feel well below that air temperature. Because right now, a lot of us are around 14, 15, 16 degrees. So we're getting there, but we are finding that we're still just kind of stuck into this cold air. Actually, the last time that we saw Flint and Saginaw above freezing was January 17th. So it's been at least a while for us to have anything that's been above that 32-degree mark. And even when we look in the forecast, we really don't seem to be breaking or even getting close to those freezing temperatures. So just plan on it being cold here for a while. I think a lot of us at this point are conditioned. We kind of know the drill, but just know that you can't let your guard down, that winter weather is still hanging around for us. Even our temperatures tonight, we are going to be finding those hovering right around 5 degrees. So we're going to be back into the single digits. We do have even more cold air coming in for tonight, so that's why we do have that winter weather, not winter weather advisory, we have a cold weather advisory. After all the busy conditions, it's hard to keep all those alerts together, so hopefully you have that First Alert weather app going. That's going to be a great tool to kind of stay on top of the conditions. But again, still tonight going to be chilly. You're probably going to hear that furnace running. If you have a wood burner, you're probably having to put extra wood in. When we do look at our cold weather alerts, they are just for the counties that are covered by the Detroit National Weather Service office. The Grand Rapids and Gaylord offices did not issue that advisory. And you'll also find Midland is not in that advisory. The Detroit National Weather Service said that they're opting out on having Midland in there because they should have just enough protection from the bay. And I know you're thinking, wait, Bay County is even closer towards the water, but it's still kind of that microclimate right by the water to where we are still going to be finding kind of those temperatures dropping, but it seems to be closer towards Midland County. We don't seem to drop as quickly. So we're still going to be finding wind chills potentially around -15. We may have a couple of spots that get down closer towards -20. I know there has been some talk that we were even kind of maybe surprised by the alerts, though it is going to be cold tonight. It may not quite reach into that advisory criteria. So that's what we're going to kind of be watching here in the forecast is how cold does it really get. So let's look at some of our feels like temperatures for the afternoon and evening and tomorrow morning. So this afternoon, as I mentioned, it kind of feels like it's about 0 outside, give or take a little bit on either side of that 0 mark. But as we go into the 5 o'clock commute, you will see that a lot of us do start to slip into the negative. So we'll start to lose our sunshine in the 5 o'clock hour. Our sunset is still around, I believe, 3:39 for today. So once we lose that sun, of course, that cold air starts to creep in. You will find also the further south you go, that's also where we see some cooler conditions. Something to keep in mind that this also lines up with the snowpack. So that's also going to kind of aid some of that colder air to be around to help those lows to kind of drop a little bit better there. So we do anticipate even around Flint, Lapeer, coming up in towards Cairo and Bad Axe to be seeing those wind chills around -12, -14, -15. And then a little bit further north, you can see we have Houghton Lake at about -6. Same for Clare. So we are going to have some variation here through mid-Michigan, but either way, it's simply cold. Kind of the best advice, whether you're under the alert or not, is to just stay bundled up. I know we've kind of been going through all of our layers here lately, just trying to stay warm, and the weather is just going to kind of remain in that same pattern. So it's just going to kind of be status quo here. Into tomorrow morning, you can kind of see that some of those numbers start to lift around 7 a.m. So that kind of helps for bus stops. But as we go into the afternoon, we're still going to be hovering below 0. We're into the negatives, but we're kind of around -5 to -10 during the day on Tuesday. It will be a little bit breezy at times. We also see kind of our winds pick up here during the night before they do settle down. But then we will see Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, it's cold once again. We're going to be tracking wind chills that are going to potentially be around 10 to 15 degrees below 0. So we just continue to have these cold nights, the cold mornings, and we're just kind of stuck with the cold air. So if you're maybe a little bit fatigued with that, I get it. I know a lot of us here at TV5, we've been saying that we're kind of ready maybe to move on to spring, but it's just not in the forecast yet. When we look at our wind gusts to come, you will see today that we still kind of see those around 20, 25 miles per hour, but it's here during the night that they pick up around 25 to 30 miles per hour. So that is going to allow for those wind chills to kind of drop just right after midnight. But as we get closer towards tomorrow, I kind of want to bring those wind chills down a little, or those wind gusts down a little bit, so that can maybe help us. Doesn't really seem like we're going to have that success, but still, it's going to have that cold air to add that extra bite to the conditions. So just, again, be prepared if you're going to be outside for extended periods of time. We're going to be keeping the forecast cold. We're going to continue to see cold weather here for a while yet. Let's even look at our 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. So this is going to take us to the time frame of the end of the month going into kind of that first week of February through February 4th. And we are still seeing that we have about a 10 to 20% chance of temperatures to be below average. So we are getting kind of close to getting back to some seasonal weather. We can at least kind of gather and take that here from the map, but it still looks to be a little bit tricky to kind of get there. So we are going to see that even as we look towards February, we still have the chance, or at least in northern lower across the UP, for at least some chances to be below average for the month of February. So we're kind of in that equal zone. We can kind of be right in the middle. So February could be a little bit of a draw here on temperatures. Even if we get back to seasonal numbers, which would be lower 30s, I think a lot of us are okay with that. That's pretty comfortable considering the cold air that we just had. We'll take getting closer towards freezing, even if we're right around 35 degrees. I don't think we'll have too many complaints from that. So overall conditions, we are going to continue to keep it nice and cool here for the rest of this month and even going into the early portions of February. Now that was a lot of talk on the cold air. We do still have some snow that's going to be on the way for tonight. So we'll talk about how that's going to add up, the amounts, and also what that means for your morning commute. So we're going to take that 1 minute break like we usually do, and we're going to be right back in 60 seconds. Thanks for staying with us. We are going to talk about our snow chances. Here's a live look at that sky tracker. You are going to be seeing here that we've had some wonderful sunshine to start, but we are still looking at winter clouds. They never seem to be too far away in the forecast. So those are starting to roll in here this afternoon. So it's not nearly as bright and sunny as what it was to start the day, but still any moment of sun that we can get here during the winter, we will not be picky. We will enjoy it. Now with those clouds does come some snow showers. We are seeing those in the western portion and northern portions of the lower peninsula. So Lake Michigan is up and running, and Lake Huron too is also bringing our friends into Canada some of that snowfall. But here at home we're kind of, well, missing out, and I think some of us are okay with that. Also just kind of noting that any snow that we do pick up with us seeing temperatures in the single digits and right around 15 degrees, salt, it is effective. It just isn't all that effective. So it doesn't really do a ton for us. It does a little bit of melting, but it's just not going to be kind of if it was around 28, 29, or even 30 degrees. So that's going to be a little bit of a difference here with the snow chances that we have for tonight. It is pretty quiet right now, so again, just the cloud cover is rolling in for us. And I'll even zoom out here because the snow that we have towards the east coast, so that's from that system yesterday that brought the ice to locations further south. I know that we were discussing that during our noon newscast. We were running stories from some of the states further south who definitely had some brutal weather over the weekend. So thankfully that system has started to move out, but we are seeing that it's still headed off towards the east coast. But here locally, we're just dealing with some lake effect. Now we do have some snow here towards International Falls. So this, with that front coming through, is what we are watching to bring us some snowfall here for tonight. So that can have a little enhancement coming off of Lake Michigan. So that's why we are going to be keeping those snow chances in here for tonight. As we look at the hour-by-hour forecast, you'll see that it is quiet here for the evening commute. So no issues getting home from work, or if you do maybe have to pick up the kids from basketball practice, no issues there. As we go into the dinner time frame, if you're going to be going out to eat tonight for a Monday, not feeling up to cooking, that's all right. You're going to have easy travel to get to and from your favorite eatery. As we go during the night, though, just shortly after midnight, as that front starts to move in, the winds start to pick up, and so do our snow chances. So you can see that as that snow comes across, it comes in just around midnight, 1 o'clock, and as it moves through, it does break apart a little bit. So it's kind of more like a wave. It doesn't have a really big thump or a good push to it, but it is still enough that we can pick up some snow during the night. It will be scattered, and we'll still be seeing some of these streaks and bands setting up going into Tuesday morning. So with temperatures being in the single digits here tonight and that snow coming through, plan on slick roadways tomorrow morning. It's kind of a given at this point with how cold it is whenever snow falls. It just means roads are going to instantly become slick. So you will have to slow down. I'd give yourself some extra time for the commute. A slower commute is at least a little bit easier if you're taking it at a more manageable speed. As we go throughout the day, we'll still continue to see some lake effect snow showers. So we do have that Tuesday percentage of precipitation set at about 40% because it will be scattered and kind of on and off in parts of mid-Michigan, but we're still going to be seeing that rolling through our 17 counties that we do forecast for. Into Wednesday morning, we see that it's a little bit quieter in the forecast. I am still going to be keeping at least a couple of flurries around, but this kind of starts the beginning of our quieter trend. We will have some high pressure moving in, so we are going to keep the forecast pretty quiet going into the later half of this week. When we look at our snow amounts, you can see that those still get up around an inch or less. We do have some locations that are going to be just over that 1 inch mark. So we could see some of those bands that set up across the thumb to get us around an inch to an inch and a quarter. You can even see Caro trying to get towards that 1.5 inch mark, but with it being so breezy, it may really be hard to tell the difference between an inch and an 1.5 inches for those gusty winds, but still, this is going to be a manageable amount of snow. You'll still be able to get the car through it, and it is going to be just enough to make sure that it's slippery underneath those tires. So that's why we want to first alert you to drive with some caution. You'll also see that West Branch, Houghton Lake, we're also coming in at about that 1.4 reading. So again, an inch, 1.5 inches to be possible in some spots. Overall, though, a lot of folks are going to be hovering right around an inch or less to be expected. But again, we can have a couple of those readings that pop up just a little bit closer towards the 1.5 inch mark. So again, still very much a tolerable snow. If you are going to be traveling west, you will run into better snow chances there because we will have more influence from the lake effect. Looking at the 7-day forecast, we will keep the breezy conditions in, supporting the cold and the snow. So we will find that our Tuesday, we have those scattered snow showers again. They'll start tonight and they do linger through tomorrow. And then we still have just a couple of snow showers that we're watching on Wednesday. That chance isn't all that great, but it does still exist for us to see yet some more winter weather. But behind it, check out Thursday, Friday, and the weekend. Happy to see some sunshine coming in. We are going to be looking at partly cloudy skies. So there still is bound to be some winter clouds. It may block it out a little bit. But at least we have a chance with high pressure in to be seeing some sunshine. So in the winter, we will easily enjoy what we can get at this point. Temperatures, though, if you want to be outside to soak up that sun, it's still going to be cold. We have Thursday a high of 10 degrees, 12 by Friday, and then we try to get up into the upper teens, lower 20s as we go into the weekend. So also wanting to point out, though, Wednesday night and Thursday night, we do drop below zero, so we may need to see continual cold weather advisories from the National Weather Service. We'll need to be monitoring the winds and what those temperatures are to see if those are necessary. But either way, again, the biggest takeaway is it's still cold and you still, with some snow, can have some slick roads. So just be mindful that you got to bundle up, dress in layers, check on maybe your friends, your neighbors, the elderly, make sure that they're handling the cold okay. And then hopefully here for the weekend, you can make some plans to enjoy some of those winter festivities that we have here through mid-Michigan. So overall, the First Alert forecast is really shaping up to be a nice one with just a little bit of time and patience. Now, that is all we had set up here for today, but if you tune in tonight at 9 o'clock, First Alert Chief Meteorologist Chris Cieslak, he's going to be here at the First Alert desk to talk about and update us even. He'll have current radar on that snow that's going to be approaching by that time frame, so he'll have even up to the hour-by-hour forecast, and he'll continue, though, to keep an eye on those temperatures as those are going to be falling once again for tonight. But thank you again for hanging out with us, as always, here during the afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.
Thank you for joining us. Today's stream has been brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.